21 Pilots is one of the most beloved bands of the last 10, 15 years. They've released huge albums, they've given us classic songs, and they have enough lore to keep your brain occupied for at least a month. Their fan base, the Skeleton Clique, is one of the most obsessive and loyal fan bases in all of music. And I've been a fan of theirs since I heard Holding On To You on the radio in 2012. And I've been keeping up with them on and off ever since. And for the most part, I'm always fairly impressed. Except for one specific album. Hello and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, I'm Trevor and I am eternally uncool. I make videos about music, music culture, and anything that interests me. But mostly music right now. So if that sounds like something you'd be into, then I highly recommend subscribing to the channel and watching the rest of this video. 21 Pilots' 2021 album, Scaled and Icy, is seen as probably the band's weakest album by many fans and critics. I remember speaking of it quite kindly when I ranked 21 Pilots' albums. The songs could have been better. The reason this album isn't at the bottom of the list is because it's still fairly new. I haven't listened to the whole thing since it was released, so who knows? Maybe it'll grow on me. Or maybe it won't. But I have to say, I do agree with a lot of the fans and critics who said this album was not so good. Or I used to agree with them, that is.
Gotcha, bitch!
When I was doing research to review the Clancy album, I had to listen to a lot of Scaled and Icy. And I gotta say, I liked what I heard. I know, I was as surprised as you guys are now. And it got me to thinking, maybe this album isn't as bad as I originally thought it was. What I want to do today is take a look at Scaled and Icy. From its inception and background, to its tracks and critical reception, and figure out what made the album so divisive. And of course, I will do my best to try and defend it. So grab some water, stay hydrated, it's still
hot outside.
Grab a snack, get comfortable, and let's get into the video.
Slow down on Monday, not a sound on Wednesday.
Before we talk about Scaled and Icy, we first have to talk about Trench. Trench was released in 2018 to critical acclaim. This was probably the most acclaim that 21 Pilots got, and probably ever got, for that matter. It was called their most personal and creatively daring album. It has an 81 out of 100 Metacritic score, 4 out of 5 stars from Kerrang and NME, and was included on several best of year-end lists. 5 months after Trench was released, the band announced that they were working on their next album. Tyler Joseph talked about what this album was going to be, saying, "There's a character that hasn't been talked about on any record yet that plays a huge role in the narrative that obviously will need to be talked about, and it's probably where we're going next."
But
as we all know, something happened that kind of threw everything for a loop.
Stay at home, that is the order tonight from 4 state governors as the coronavirus pandemic spreads.
The world went into lockdown. Everything was uncertain and unknowable. And one of those things that was in this kind of limbo was the next 21 Pilots album. In an interview with Zane Lowe, Tyler Joseph said he wasn't sure if this album was going to be a continuation of the storyline presented in Trench or an in-between record. He said, "It's kind of hard for me to tap into the story of Trench and what we've been building on up until that point without being out there, without touring, without having those live shows, without interacting with our fans. In the meantime, we would get the standalone single, Level of Concern, which was written and recorded in those early days of lockdown."
'Cause I told you my level of concern, but you won't find like you never heard.
This song encourages listeners to not lose hope in these uncertain times, while also addressing the fear that we were all feeling. And it was a really good song. I remember really liking it a lot when it came out. I thought it was classic 21 Pilots. That was one of the upsides of the pandemic and the lockdown. Creatives got a lot done. And Tyler Joseph didn't stop at Level of Concern. He was working on the next 21 Pilots album over a year-long period during lockdown. Josh Dun would engineer the drum tracks remotely. They were doing everything separately, but yet that teamwork that's always apparent in every 21 Pilots project was there. Dunn said, "We both have our own studios, which is really nice, so he comes up with a lot of stuff at his studio, sends it over to me, and then I come up with some stuff here at my studio and then send it back." The fuck was that? But there were some bumps along the way. Tyler Joseph really struggled with the direction of the album. He didn't know whether it should lean into the fear and anxiety and uncertainty that everyone was feeling around COVID, or if it should be an escape from that. He went with the latter.
We all would take the ladder.
Which I think was a good idea. I think that was the good route to go. What we all needed at this time was an escape. And who better to give it to us than 21 Pilots? 21 Pilots started promoting the album in 2021, updating their social medias with a picture of an empty venue and the Trench-era band logo. A month later, Tyler Joseph posted a selfie with a blue PSI symbol over his right eye. I'm sure that means something in the grand scheme of things, but I'm too lazy to figure it out. In April of 2021, a progress bar appeared on the DEMA website, and this progress bar was for files being deleted. After 3 days, the progress bar timed out and was replaced by 3 posters announcing the new album, the title, Scaled and Icy, and a live stream experience scheduled for May of 2021. The title, Scaled and Icy, is a play on the phrase scaled back and isolated, which is how Tyler Joseph described COVID's impact on music production. He wanted to lean into the fact that everything was so scaled back, so isolated now. The title is also an anagram for Clancy is Dead, which is obviously a reference to the protagonist of Trench, Clancy. They never said whether this anagram was a coincidence or not, but I think I'm safe in assuming that it's not a coincidence. Hindsight being what it is. After the post on the website, the band premiered their lead single, Shy Away, on BBC Radio 1.
Don't you shy away.
I remember really liking Shy Away when it came out. I really dug the song. I liked this new kind of indie pop direction that they were going. They followed up Shy Away with 2 more singles, Choker and Saturday. I wasn't as into these 2 as I was Shy Away. I think my interest in 21 Pilots was kind of ebbing and flowing at this point. I think the vibe of these 2 just kind of turned me off. Honestly, I wish I could understand my mindset at the time. I really wish I could. But I was newly sober and losing my mind. So I wasn't really paying attention to the album's rollout. At this point, I was just kind of indifferent to the whole thing. Scaled and Icy was notable for being less dark than Trench. It was more playful and kind of similar to their earlier albums like Vessel. On first listen, it sounds really upbeat and optimistic. Tyler explains that this was his reaction to the bleakness of the COVID era, as well as a reaction to Trench itself. But while the sound differs from Trench, the lyrical themes and topics explored are very similar. Tyler Joseph said the contrast between the bright sound and dark lyrics was deliberate, stating, "As you dive into the lyrics, a lot of times it's asking some pretty heavy questions and addressing some pretty heavy things." When the album was finally released, critical reception was polarized. Some critics really loved it, and others didn't love it. Metacritic gave it a 70 out of 100. Class gave it a 7 out of 10. AllMusic gave it 4 out of 5 stars. As did the NME, who called it an expectation-crushing statement of ambition. But then you have Kerrang, who gave it 3 out of 5 stars, which isn't too bad. British newspaper Financial Times gave it 2 out of 5 stars, which is bad, and the Evening Standard posed the question, is it worth sticking around to hunt for secret messages? Not really. So critics were split.
I didn't like much of any of this. This was awful.
Fans' response was just as divided. Some really loved the album and its continuation of the lore and storyline presented in Trench. Others didn't like the more poppy and upbeat tone of the album. And then you had people like me, who just kind of wrote the album off entirely with no good reason. I can't say why I dislike this album, because I don't really know why I disliked the album. I think I was just in this phase where I didn't like 21 Pilots' new music. I guess I thought it was obnoxious. All the bright colors and the poppy sound. I didn't know at the time that it was all for a reason. If I did, my opinion would have been different. But like I said,
hindsight.
Just like with most of my defense videos, I'm gonna listen to the album again, give my thoughts on each track, and then kind of score the album as a whole. So if you don't like my reviews, that's too damn bad! The album opens with Good Day, which has some pretty nice nature sounds at the beginning of it. It really sets an ambiance. Then that's followed up by some laid-back drumming from Josh and some nice pianos from Tyler. It really reminds me of 70s AOR. Really mellow and poppy and smooth. I initially didn't like the song when it came out because of that one line. We all know the one.
Homie, just suit me.
But the rest of the song more than makes up for it. Looking back, that one line isn't even that bad. I think people just want to find anything to cringe at. It's a good song about being in denial after losing everything good in your life.
Relatable?
I know it's hard to believe me. It's a good day.
Choker sounds a little more like typical 21 Pilots, but there's a kind of poppy undertone to it. The beats are less aggressive and wouldn't sound out of place from someone like the Postal Service or Porter Robinson. Tyler Joseph's vocals are mellow but sad. It's not as good as Good Day, I have to admit. I do, however, like Tyler's rapped verse.
Like a little splinter buried in your skin. Someone else can carve it out, but when you've got the pin, it hurts.
I already touched on Shy Away earlier in this video. It's a great song. It's poppy but not too sugary. I honestly think it's one of their best songs.
Don't you shy away.
The Outside is okay. It's not the best song on the album. It's like a less fun version of Lavish.
Singing up and down. They're nodding. Heads are moving up and down. You got it.
I don't know how I ignored Saturday when it came out. It's such a fun song. It's a true pop rock banger. I think it fits perfectly with the vibe Tyler was going for. This kind of poppy, optimistic sound. Poptimistic, if you will.
Slow down on Monday. Not a sound on Wednesday.
Never Take It is a surprising track. There's a lot going on, but everything that is going on works really well together. It's another pop rock oriented track like Shy Away and Saturday. Tyler's vocals are great. And the meaning behind the lyrics about how toxic media is and how it profits off of all of our disagreements and division. That's not what I would have thought this pop tune was about. Mulberry Street is a pretty cool song. Kind of funky. It's very summery, but a good summer. Not the boiling hot hellhole we have going on right now.
Get out of our way. We're moving sideways. Well,
Formidable sounds like a lost 80s treasure. It sounds so pretty. That's the only way I can describe it. It's a very pretty song. It fits in well with a lot of 21 Pilots' more indie pop tracks.
you are formidable to me. 'Cause you seem to know it where you wanna go. Yeah, 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 I'll follow you.
Bounce Man sounds like the name of some D-tier Marvel or DC superhero whose superpower is just bouncing. He has no other superpowers, he just bounces. The song itself is bouncy. It definitely lives up to the title.
Should bounce, 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 man. Come to the house, man. I'll let my old lady know.
No Chances switches the vibe up, being a lot darker than everything else on the album thus far. It almost feels like a preview of Clancy. I was worried I wasn't gonna like it, but I really vibe with this song. The final track, Redecorate, kind of straddles the line between the scaled and icy sound and what we would hear on Clancy, which maybe was done on purpose. It's a pretty good song. Scale and Icy is not as bad as I initially assumed it was gonna be. Just like with most of the albums I talk about in this series, it has a lot to offer. It was a good departure for the band, especially after an album as heavy as Trench. It's a good in-between for Trench and Clancy. If I were to re-rank the albums of 21 Pilots, would Scaled and Icy's position change? No. I think I had it right where I ranked it. It fits perfectly in the middle, so it fits neatly in the middle. It's a very good album, but is it as good as Trench or Blurry Face? No. But still, better than I thought it would be. What do you think? Do you like Scaled and Icy? Do you not? Why? Let me know in the comments. That's gonna do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't enjoy it, well, that would make me pretty sad. But if you did enjoy it, then I highly recommend smashing that like button and sharing this video with everyone you know. I am a small, independent creator who does pretty much everything on his own. So every like, every comment, every share, any interaction with this video at all really helps to get it pushed out to more people who might be interested in what I'm doing and want to subscribe to the channel. With all that being said, thank you for watching. As always, I'm Trevor. Stay uncool. And that's the end of the video. Goodbye.